We have Kamala Harris in an interview on The View that MAGA is just mauling over as she continues to dispel any notion that she's unable to articulate her policies or afraid to do so, including in this interview unveiling a new position that she's proposing in her agenda. So I lined these up for us to look through, starting with this new policy position, and we'll jump in with whatever context is needed.
Basically, what we will do is allow Medicare to cover in-home health care.
Oh. Fine.
Right. And because we're talking about these kinds of things where it's just about helping an aging parent or person, prepare a meal, put their sweater on.
Yes.
And it's about dignity for that individual. It's about independence for that individual.
Yes.
I mean, people are of declining skills to some extent, but their dignity their pride has not declined.
No.
They want to stay in their home. They don't want to go somewhere else. Plus, for the family to send them to a residential care facility to hire somebody is so expensive.
Oh, yeah.
And wipes you out.
And I'll just say, well, but here's the other thing about it. People say, well, how are you going to pay for it? Here's the thing. Here's how we pay for it. Part of what I also intend to do is allow Medicare to continue to negotiate drug prices against these big pharmaceutical companies, which means we are going to save Medicare the money because we're not going to be paying these high prices, and those resources are best then put in a way that helps a family like the one you are describing.
This is an amazing policy, and it's something that any American should support bipartisanly, regardless of your party. But of course, for MAGA, because Kamala is the one who proposed it, not Trump, they'll probably call it communism or something. And notice how she actually goes into how to fund and implement her policies when she talks about them, unlike Trump, who says one thing on a surface level and it will fix everything. It's big and beautiful, and then never explains it. But this is the first time that something like this would be covered by Medicare, which would allow for the sandwich generation, which just means those who are caring both for their own child and their parents who are aging. It would enable them more freedom, more ability to work, thus adding to the economy, adding money to it, jobs even possibly, rather than having to spend all their time caring for a loved one or facing having to foot a bill that is more expensive than rent, than healthcare, than most things in this country, way more than it should be, to send them off to a nursing home or have in-home care even. And to do so, she wants to strengthen Medicare's negotiating power with Big Pharma, which would knock out two birds in one stone. It would lead to lower medicine costs for seniors as well. And the money saved over from Medicare not having to pay as high of a price themselves would go to fund programs like this. And we already know that Medicare is umpteen times more efficient than private insurance, operating on administrative costs as low as 1% versus 8% average for private insurance, as high as 16 to 17%. So I hope that, again, this is something that can and should see bipartisan support in Congress, as it'll help our economy and give seniors the care they deserve.
We have to put country before party. We have to agree about the sanctity of the oath we take to defend the Constitution of the United States, to support the Constitution of the United States. And I do believe the closer we get to the election, the more that people reflect on what's at stake. Including the fact that the former president tried to undo the will of the people in a free and fair election on January 6th, led what was a violent attack on the United States Capitol. 140 uniformed law enforcement officers were attacked. Some died. I have seen from people who are former Trump supporters who are supporting me, that was a bridge too far.
For those of us who actually love America, love the American experiment, the stuff that makes us, our democracy, this was a bridge too far, or more than even, for many, regardless of partisan politics. The only people pretending it doesn't matter are those who just want their side to win no matter what, at all costs, who care about themselves as the individual more than the sanctity of our country. And that's why the onus is on us as the true patriots to rid this from our political sphere. A man who installed fake electors, who tried to subvert the will of voters, pressured state officials to do corruption, pressured his DOJ, his AG, his VP, who sent a violent mob to the Capitol to delay the peaceful transfer of power, and now wants to pardon those criminals who attacked police officers, destroyed the Capitol. This is a man who belongs nowhere near our highest office, and November is our chance to make sure he never will be there again.
Donald Trump prefers to run on problems instead of fixing problems. He's not solution-oriented. And again, I will invite people, if you really need to know how he thinks, since he doesn't do these kinds of interviews, watch his rallies. He spends full time engaged in grievance about what has happened to him. He spends full time perpetuating lies and misinformation. He spends full time talking about fictional characters, you know? I mean,
name calling, a lot of name calling
and demeaning people, belittling people. But what he does not talk about is you. He does not talk about what you need. He does not talk about what your parents need, what your children's need. That's not what he talks about. He doesn't talk about your child's needs. He talks about his needs. And I think, again, back to the point, in this election, people are ready for a new generation of leadership that's about fixing problems.
And it is a very stark contrast. Trump won't do hostile interviews anymore because he can't expand on his positions. We saw this in the debate with him having to concede he only has concepts of a plan. And he instead just does rallies in this confirmation bubble of his supporters where he can just call Kamala a communist. He can air grievances, whine about 2020 election and him losing, say our country is destroyed, fearmonger about issues that aren't even real, lose himself in a half delusional ramble, and his crowd will just cheer him on the entire time. But notice that he never talks about solutions. And to the extent he mentions policy, it's only on a surface level. And this is why I bring this challenge in every video I do, and no MAGA ever takes it, even though they feel fine commenting other things, right? Is to name the last Trump rally where he expanded on a policy position, not just saying what he wants to do, but how it will be implemented or how it will be funded. I would dare one person in MAGA to explain this to me about any one policy position he has, let alone name the last time he did. He does this with nothing. That's why. Not his tariffs, not his immigration, not his tax cuts, and those are his only three policies. Don't be fooled. Meanwhile, Kamala wants to address the specific issues the middle class has, and in every event, she expands on exactly how to do that, right? Grocery prices are too high. Okay, well, let's enact FTC penalties on corporations that engage in this behavior. Is it too hard for you to start a business? Let's have a charitable tax cut, expand what it already is for small business owners who are in startup. Family trouble is getting too expensive. Let's expand the child tax credit. And we'll fund all of this by raising the corporate tax rate and enacting a tax on unrealized gains for households with a net worth of at least $100 million. Struggling caring for your parents? Let's enable Medicare to fund this. We'll pay for it through lowering the cost of medicines for Medicare and expanding their bargaining power. See how easy it is for me to run through these with Kamala? Meanwhile, no MAGA can do this for Trump because for him, it's the same old tired playbook, right? Lie about an issue, make it seem like a bigger deal than it is, fearmonger and blame the other side for it, and then vaguely say you'll be the one to fix it without ever explaining how you're actually going to help or how that help will be paid for.